Well, I am thrilled to be here with you, my dear beloved brother, Hereditary Chief Phil Lane Jr. We've been on this journey together. This peace wave is who we are, and our paper on deep social networks. We met with Seeds of Compassion. The guiding principles have been at the core. And I've learned so much from you, and have been so fortunate to walk with you on this journey. It's a thrill to have you now part of the Peace Wave Summit. So let me give you a chance to say a few words and greeting.
Well, brother, I love you. You're a good man. You're a good man. And I just send you a great big embrace. You've really been a true brother. We've been through our thick and thins, we've struggled, and that's what it's about. We are facing a tremendous challenge, and thank God, thank the Creator, our seventh generation has arisen as prophesied. And the seventh generation is over 50% of the world's population who no longer are willing, the leadership, are willing to put up with all this dishonesty, with all this injustice, with all this lack of caring for every single member of our human family. They're awakening to the reality that we are one human family. That's the foundation of the world peace that will be achieved by 2030, which I call more the lesser peace, when we'll finally secede weapons. And that's why our paper that we jointly put together is called Prophecies, Dynamic Change, and a New World Civilization 2020, 2030, 2050. Because time, I tell you, at 74, I just turned 74, as you know, brother, it goes fast, really quickly. When my dad told me so many times when I was younger, son, we're only here for a short time. Son, we wear out. I didn't know what he's talking about. But I'll tell you right now, that doesn't mean, in a spiritual sense, I still won't be around, because I want to see how this thing turns out. Yeah. I want to live as long as I can and kick it good. When I go to the other side camp, I want to sit back. There's more work to do over there, because they're the ones behind us, inspiring this incredible global change. Now, I know one of the concerns that we discussed was, what are those things that are causing us not to be able to recognize that we're one human family, and that the hurt of one is the hurt of all, and that really this war, which is the number one cause of climate change, it has left millions and millions of human beings devastated with intergenerational trauma, with lateral violence, and it's being played out everywhere. And we just continue the process. So what I'd say, from my perspective, I believe there's a paralysis of will. First of all, I believe it's very difficult for human beings to, just like when the various federations came together, like the European Union or the United States of America, or all these, or the Iroquois Confederacy, probably one of the most powerful examples of what it took. And it took some work to bring people together, to unify, to recognize we're one heart and one mind and many bodies, and we have to work together. And so that is because I think that people just don't want to subordinate their egos, this idea that I need to subordinate myself to something that benefits all human beings, because it's not understood yet. This is my country. This is my city. This is my house. This is my deal. And I don't care. Not everybody's like that. But I'm saying we're awakening to it. Mm-hmm. I think the second thing that's holding us back from world peace is simply the belief that our nature is adversarial, that we're not spiritual beings, that we don't have phases we go through from infancy to childhood to adulthood, teenage, adulthood, and eldership. I mean, I can tell you at 74 years old, and I can tell you before my dad died, who fought over 250 professional fights, he told me, son, if I had to do this again, I would never do any sport that hurt another human being. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the idea that somehow we're just natural animals. In fact, animals are way beyond us in terms of following their nature. I mean, you know, a cobra, if you attack a cobra, they're going to attack you. That's the nature of a cobra.
Mm.
If you tangle with a bear, especially a grizzly, you're probably not going to come out on the right side there, because that grizzly will be a grizzly, right? Because animals are being themselves. They have integrity. But we as human beings, we know from all the great spiritual teachers and prophets and spiritual leadership and so forth that people, human beings, can give up the physical things of life and change things. And it's just not their nature to have to kill and to steal and to be dishonest. That's not our nature. We are spiritual beings. We're great beings. And so those are some of the challenges as well. The last third one I want to mention.
Yeah.
7.4 billion human beings on Mother Earth.
Yes.
At least 2 billion of them right this minute, while all of us here that are looking into this program are at least experiencing the opportunity to use internet and probably have some food to eat tonight. They have no place to sleep. They have no food to eat. They're starving. I mean, thousands of children will have died today before this program's over from malnutrition, from lack of food. And so what's happening? Our seventh generation, our young people are waking up. They're seeing, just a minute. You older generations, we need your help. But hey, you really jeopardized our future. You've jeopardized us. You put us at odds with one another. And we're finding out as we travel around Mother Earth, as we communicate through the Everywhere Spirit, we're finding out that human beings from other parts of the world are not the ones you portrayed to be the enemy.
Yes.
For us. And that is really key. And that's why we did that. We've been working on the paper since 2012, and we really encourage people. Maybe there's a way we can connect people to the paper itself.
We will. We're going to share that paper. We want everyone to have access to it.
Good, because I think it really begins, and will continue this next, every solstice. I'm thinking about every solstice and equinox to invite one or two more people to contribute. So we're continually bringing it up to date.
Yep.
Because it really does give the foundations of what we're doing.
Can I share some of those slides from it, or
please,
should I share the?
Let's share that first one in the paper. I think that's.
You mean the group of people involved, or the slides?
The slide. The group of people involved. And we can show that. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. This is the opening of the document. And then we're going to show that map you made.
Yeah. I'm going to go switch from the picture of it to the actual map itself.
Okay. Now, I want to say this, and Brother John taught me this many years ago. God bless him. God bless you, brother. He just simply brought Black Elk's teaching, the center of the universe is everywhere, to have us understand that every circle is a circle unto itself. At the same time, through the Everywhere Spirit, it's one.
Yes. And
we have to be able to realize that we're decentralizing, not centralizing. That the world is decentralizing, that everybody in Mother Earth is gaining the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to take care of their own lives and communities. And so what you've so beautifully done, John, and by the way, in this picture you'll see the Four Worlds International Institute in the center, but any other of these relatives can be in the center as well. So, for instance, United Religions Initiative, which we mentioned in the document, Culture, Tony Lane Casserly, which is looking at a whole new different way of governance. There we go. See how that is? Culture. So these are all these new innovations that are coming about. Unity Earth, which we had such a wonderful time in their support of going to Ethiopia. And the map.
Yeah, the road to 2020.
Yes. And maybe you can share, brother, a little bit, because we were there on that journey together. What you see, you've met David Gershon. He brought that our beautiful
torch, right?
Torch. Kristen.
Kristen Hoffman. I know we have really a beautiful family has emerged, Phil, and your leadership and experience of that global fire of one love that we did in Lalibela with those 11 rock-cut churches, that part of Ethiopia. I mean, there is a growing awareness. We've always been inclusive. And I love that this paper is a living document, because we've always been on the look for and open to the discovery of what is it going to take, living in the question with the awareness that this is a time has been prophesized, and yet at the same time having to take responsibility.
Exactly.
Growing our own growing edges and learning how to be together. And you have some beautiful slides I was going to show that went from the hoop of many hoops. Here, let me go back to that, because I think the wisdom.
Please. And by the way, if you would be so kind, brother, to reflect a little bit, because these same hoop of many hoops.
Yeah. Well, what you're saying before, about power sharing, I mean, as opposed to centralized and decentralized, it's destructive. What you're saying, it's like the internet. The center of the universe is wherever you are now.
Exactly.
And each of us is autonomous. Each of us is sovereign. Each of us has the ability to generate peace on earth from within and within our communities and within our bioregions and around the world.
Yes.
And this was an idea you shared with me that's in the paper, this idea of the hoop of many hoops.
Yes.
The paper is summarized here. Maybe you want to talk about these 4 points, because these really speak to what, in summary, in that paper is where we're headed.
Right. Well, the hoop of many hoops comes from the sacred prophecies of Black Elk. And, Black Elk very clearly articulated that the indigenous peoples that from which he emerged would have great contributions to make to the human family, just like we all do. And by the way, we could not be doing this today. You sitting in Seattle, me sitting here in White Rock, if it wasn't for the everywhere spirit, which was prophesied in our native prophecy. I personally, in 1975, heard Mary Belrose, heard Abe Bernstick in Cree, translated to English, prophesying about this hoop of many hoops, this internet as well, that everything would come out and be revealed. And so this internet is not something, in fact, I'm really pleased that our young people are just using it. And in fact, young people everywhere are using it. So what does this really mean? We're talking about a global oneness encompassing the participation of the entire human family everywhere all at once, exercising wise, sustainable, and harmonious development of our vast global resources. So again, this global oneness, the herd of one is a herd of all, the honor of one. A global civilization that blends and embodies the ideals of both East and West, liberated from the curse of war and its miseries, and focused on the sustainable and harmonious development of all the available resources of clean energy on the surface of Mother Earth.
Yes.
A global governance system where force is a servant of justice and all life is sustained by the universal recognition of one creator, and that could be in any way people choose to see this higher power that has organized this incredible world in which we're learning a lot about the realization that the herd of one is the herd of all.
Yes.
This global commons is the goal towards which our human family, impelled by the unifying forces of life, is undeniably and swiftly moving.
Yep.
That deals with every dimension. The press, liberated from political influences and those things which tend to cause division rather than tell the truth.
Right. And that's all outlined here in the paper. I mean, what you saw there in that slide is just a summary of what's available.
So each year, what we've done since 2012, if you go just back a little bit, we've tried to summarize what is, like right here, during 2017, what challenges do we have? And we can see them. Further destruction of indigenous people and their sacred lands and so forth and so on. And then from there, we also talk about what are those positive things that are happening? And here's these movements. And we hope that anybody's listening in here who feels like they have a movement that's moving us the way we're talking about, and as you study what Brother John's doing in the Compassion Games International, which I'm so honored to be the chairperson and to have followed this work, John. You just kept going through thick and thin. You've never given up. And summer,
Yes.
Summer.
I know. He's a miracle. Love wins. Whoever needs evidence, there's my evidence.
Yep. And then we go on to the 7th generation global run, because Standing Rock really ignited a spirit, and Standing Rock's everywhere now. We know that.
Yep.
I know that Chief Orville Looking Horse, keeper of White Buffalo Cat Pipe, came out and shared that as well. And we talk about this global storm, and we are in a global storm, and the paralysis of will, and why we are not moving as quickly as we can towards world peace. And then we talk about what is a new global civilization? What does it look like? Now, there's one part of this I would like to share, because I think it's so important. Is that one part? Keep going.
Okay, you tell me when I.
Okay. I'm look at the this is not a little bit further back. Go back. Let me see. I have it right here. I put it. You have all these great plans for how everything is going to be well done.
And plans, God laughs.
I
know.
Yeah.
Here, let me make this a little small. It might be the outline might help jog your memory.
Yeah. Well, I know what it is. I'm just trying to describe what it's not.
Okay. Well, the thing is, like while you're looking, while you did the Deep Social Network.
Yes, please talk about it.
Way. I mean, there is architecturally new possibilities, like the whole blockchain. We talk about governance structure.
Yes.
And the power that we have as individuals, the convening of this summit, demonstrating that it's a new reality. We've changed the limits of what's possible. And
yes.
When our value starts to guide our choices, and we start to reinvent the planet to come from a place of loving kindness and compassion, and rethink the power structure. It's not power over, but it's power with. It's creative situational leadership. It's so many of I shared earlier, Patricia shared about walking in beauty and living the loving way.
Yes.
Honoring this great wisdom teachings, the stewardship way of thinking, as opposed to the ownership model where we're trying to enclose and keep for ourselves. How do we break out of those selfish patterns to create win-win solutions? Is there somewhere you want me to go, or is there a particular spot?
Well, that's all right. I mean, in essence,
let me come back to you, Phil. I want people to see you. Paper's great. We'll give people a link to it.
But I think that what's so important that I want to share at this point is when we talk about a new global civilization.
Yes.
We're not talking about some kind of secret society that's going to take over everybody. We're not talking about some cabal over here that wants us to all look the same or be the same. We're talking about something completely and totally different, and that's what the indigenous people have to give to the world. We have governance systems. We have principles of consultation. We have principles of talking circles. We have all kinds of things that we have to share that's enabled us to withstand the Holocaust, literally.
Yes.
We've been through. Certainly a cultural Holocaust by UN definitions. And I'm not trying, by the way, to compare it to any other Holocaust at all. I'm just saying 100 million indigenous peoples lived here at the time of contact. That was reduced down probably to 5 million. 90 to 95% lost. But that's okay, because we know there's life after death. And so they're here with us. On the other hand, it's part of a much bigger process. So on the other hand, think about this. The buffalo went from 60 million in 1800 down to 400 in just 89 years through government policies of starve or surrender. in which they just mowed them down. The same thing with the salmon, just almost gone. But the buffalo are back to 400,000, 1,000 times increase. We're stronger than ever because, like Chief Swell said, did I say death? There is no death, just change of worlds. Oh, the sequel of this last 500 years is beginning. And it's a great sequel. It's the greatest sequel for every human being because we're one. And that's been our journey, brother, together. Yeah. We've learned from each other. We've struggled. But it's the love and compassion we have for one another. We have for the human family. We have for our children, our grandchildren. That's why we won't give up. Yeah. That's why this 7th generation, these young people, over 50% of the population. Oh, I can think of my niece, Wamdi, back in, my Toja and Wamdi, back in South Dakota. There's so many. They're rising.
Yes.
They're rising. I was just with my daughters and grandchildren. They're rising. People are waking up.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wow.
East wave.
Yes, there you go.
Wave.
Oh, perfect.